la 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 ya la 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 מה יפה היום שבת שלום מה יפה היום שבת שלום שבת שבת שלום שבת שבת שלום Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. Lai, 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 la, la, lai, 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 la, lai, 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 la, la, lai, lai, lai. Lai lai la 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 lai 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 la 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 lai 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 la 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 lai la la lai 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 Shabbat Shalom Ma Yafeh Hayom. How amazing, how beautiful to join together on this Kabbalat Shabbat. In our Siddur Mishkan Tfilah, page 124, if you are joining us and you don't have a Siddur at home, please go to the PDF below the live stream link on our website. We enter this sanctuary to welcome Shabbat. Within these walls we sit, surrounded by numberless generations. Our ancestors built this synagogue as a visible sign of the sacred presence in their midst. Throughout our long history and our endless wanderings, it has endured, a beacon of truth, love, and justice for all humanity. Its presence guided our ancestors to lives of righteousness, holding up to them a vision of their truest selves. Now we, in our turn, come into this sanctuary to affirm the sacredness of our lives. May we enter this place in peace. May holiness wrap around us as we cross its threshold. Weariness, doubt, the flaws within our human hearts, the harshness of the weak, let these drop away at the door. In the brightness of Shabbat, let peace settle upon us as we lift our hearts in prayer. 129. Dodi li vani lo haroeh bashoshanim Dodi li mizot ola min hamidbar mizot ola min hamidbar Dodi li va'ani lo haroeh bashoshanim Dodi li mikuteret moru levona Dodi li vani lo haroeh bashoshanim Dodi li 142. Welcoming the Sabbath, welcoming angels to accompany us on this Sabbath. Shalom Aleichem. Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruchuni l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shuvchem l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Turning to page 120. Bringing the light of the Sabbath in. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. On Shabbos, my grandmother would light a candle for everyone in the family. Each time a new grandchild was born, there would be an additional light each and every Shabbat. On this Sabbath, I imagine those lights lighting up this sanctuary and our hearts as we remember our ordinary heroes, the essential workers that are keeping us safe and have kept us safe throughout the COVID pandemic, these nurses, Marie Delaparte, Christina Du Bois, Teresa Eggers, Teresa Esposita, Lindsay Miller, Jay Mountier, Cindy Pomerantz, Joni Savego, Lucinda Siegel, Christina Snell, Amy Staley, Ashley Wallace, Ben Wilder, Elisa Williams, these doctors, Linda Brandon, Amy Cagulo, Joe Cohn, Shani David, Elliot Dresnick, Lee Gerson Friedman, Nicholas Friedman, Stephen Grossman, Elon Haley, Jan Hoyt, Roger Husted, Steve Kaplan, Martin Krakauer, Howard Leifer, Liz Levine, Aaron Daniel Levitt, Elle Levitt, Noah Alexander Levitt, Richard Levy, Matt Lordy, Hannah Mittenberg, Wendy Parrish, Stephen Schwartz, Jody Sumber, Andrew Yanowski. These healthcare professionals, Yisrael Aga, Dara Clausen, Bar Levi Romer, Katie Monsky, Joseph Schwendeman, Amy Skorka, Maureen Terranova, Jaron Whittam. These first responders, Ryan Coletti, Mark Donchek, Steve Fleischer, Don Hughes, Karen Leader, Abe Markovitz, Anthony Schleuderer, Russell Seymour, Kahana Skalnick. These educational professionals, Sandy Albelli, Cindy Binney, Cara Levine Brenner, Carolyn Cernitsky, Lauren DePola, Molly Levine Hunt, Jim Hunt, Tammy Logan, Joanne Miller, Tracy Pollack, Cameron Robb, Lauren Rose, Erin Swan, Sue Worthman, Karen Zrake, Brett Zuckerman. These social workers and mental health professionals, Andrew Binney, Charlie DeGeorge, Anastasia Duval, Yonetti, Janalee Fish, Dara Heinlein, Deb Jones, Stephen Kahn, Lauren Petties, Julie Stein Makowski, Ty Markle, Sherry Tesler. These grocery staff, technicians, mechanics, maintenance personnel, and transportation professionals, Jill Smith, Mike Becker, Matt Wilder, Mike Brewer, Brian Lestrange, Danny Miller. Oh, hear my prayer, I sing to you. Be gracious to the ones I love, and bless them with goodness and mercy and peace. Oh, hear my prayer to you. Let us light these lights and see the way to you, and let us say Amen. Let us light these lights and see the way to you, and let us say Amen. Page 142. 2 of my 5 children were born in Tzfat. And I remember not just the hours and evenings and days I spent enjoying Tzfat, hiking, but especially those mornings after the birth of one of my children, looking out of the birthing center over the rolling hills and imagining Shlomo Halevi writing this prayer in the 16th century, paragraphs 1, 2, 5, and 9. Lecha lecha dodi likrat kala panei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha lecha dodi likrat kala panei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor v'dibor echad Hishmi'anu el hamyuchad Adonai echad Ushmo echad L'shem ultiferet V'litchila lecha lecha dodi Likrat kala Panei Shabbat nikabela Lecha lecha dodi Likrat kala Panei Shabbat nikabela Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha Ki hi mekor habracha Merosh mikedem nisucha Sof ma'aseh b'machsheva Techila lecha dodi Likrat kala Panei Shabbat nikabela Lecha dodi Likrat kala Panei Shabbat nikabela Hitorevri Kiva orech kumi uri shir taveri Kevod Adonai Alaich negila lecha dodi Likrat kala Panei Shabbat nikabela Lecha dodi Likrat kala Panei Shabbat nikabela Boi v'shalom Ateret ba'ala Gam b'simcha u'v'tohala Toch emunei am segula Boi chala Lecha dodi Likrat kala Panei Shabbat nikabela Lecha dodi Likrat kala Panei Shabbat nikabela Ya la 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 Ya la 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 144. Yitgadal v'yitkadash Shemei Rabbah Ve'alma divrach irute V'yamlich malchute B'chayechon Uvyomechon Uvchayetecho Beit Yisrael Ba'agala Uvizman Kariv V'immeru Amen Yehei Shmei Rabba Mevorach Le'olam ul'al me'omaya Yitbarach V'yishtabach V'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh V'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yitalal shmei dekudasha berichu le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata damiran be'alma v'imru Amen. 146. There is one who sings the song of their own life, finding everything within themselves. There is one who leaves the circle of their self and sings the song of their people. There is one whose voice rings with the song of humanity, hoping for the highest perfection. And there is one who rises even higher, uniting with all creatures, with all worlds, filling the universe with song. Page 146. Nivarech, let us bless. Ya la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Baruch et Adonai. La 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 la. Hamevorach. $149. This is an hour of change. Within it, we stand on the border of light. Shall we draw back or cross over? Where shall our hearts turn? Shall we draw back, my friends, or cross over? This is the hour of change, and within it we stand quietly on the border of light. What lies before us? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, my friend, or cross over? Baruch atah Adonai Ha'ma'ariv Aravim. 150, channeling infinite love. Ahavat olam Beit Yisrael Amcha Avta Torah u'mitzvot Chukim u'mishpatim Otanu lemadeta Al kein Adonai Eloheinu B'shochveinu uvkumeinu Nasiach bechukecha V'nismach b'divrei Toratecha ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד. כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו, באורך ימינו. ובהם נגה יומם ולילה, נגה יומם ולילה. ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל. שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד. 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 לילה $154. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. Love the source with every heartbeat, with every breath, with every conscious act. Keep in mind the words I command you today. Teach them to your children. Talk about them at work, whether you are tired or you are rested. Let them guide the work of your hands. Keep them in the forefront of your vision. Do not leave them at the doorway of your house or outside your gates. They are reminders to do all of my mitzvot so that you can be holy for the source. למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני Adonai Elohechem. 157. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the Midbar, the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands and marching together. 158. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot o sefele, nora tehilot o sefele, malchutecha ra'u vanecha, bokei hayam lifnei Moshe uMiriam, ze eli anu ve'ameru Adonai yimloch leolam va'ed, v'nemar ki fada Adonai et Yaakov ugalo miyad chazak mimenu, Baruch ata Adonai Ga'al Yisrael. 160. Grant, O Source, that we lie down in peace and raise us up, our guardian, to life renewed. Spread over us your shelter of your peace. Ufros aleinu sukat, sukat shlomecha. Ufros aleinu sukat, sukat shlomecha. Yalai lalai, yalai lalai, yalai lalai la 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 lalai, yalai lalai, yalai lalai, yalai lalai la 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 lai, lalai lalai, yalai lalai, yalai lalai la 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 lai lai, lalai lalai, yalai lalai, yalai lalai la 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 lai. Ufros aleinu sukat, sukat shlomecha. Baruch ata Adonai hapores sukat shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael ve'al Yerushalayim. 164. Every word of one's prayers should be like a rose that is picked from a bush. One gathers roses, one rose at a time, until a full bouquet is formed and can be offered to the source as a beautiful blessing. Rabbi Nachman of Bratslav. 165. and 64. Sifatai tiftach ufi hagid tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Yalla lai lai lai, 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 yalla lai lai lai. Each of us finding our private prayers for Tfilat Amidah. The traditional Tfilah continues through page 180. ratzon. Imre fi vegion lipi lefanecha Adonai tzuri vegoali Adonai tzuri vegoali. Ose shalom bimromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru amen. We will find strength in the silence, and with this strength, we will return again to your service. Page 371. As we focus on this page, on prayers for healing for our loved ones, I ask that we keep in mind those members of the community who are struggling. Yisrael Aga, David Anderson, Amanda Batista, Susan Bosch, Susan Becker, Jenny Bryant, Tom Burrows, Audrey Cohn, Barbara Cohen, Robert Cohn, Adele Corvin, Tyler Corvin, Louis Costello, Bob Davis, Yehuda Ben Leah Vachayim, John Gaudier, Joy Gross, Ron Hall, Anna Hernandez, Darren Jacobs, Judy Jacobs, Seth Kerr, Andrea Klein, Mary Jane Klein, Lou Klein, Leah Levine Olaya, Paula Markovitz, Reverend Michelle Meach, Joe Michaels, Moshe Yosef, Howard Pellet, Stephanie Payusko, Carla Friedman, Ellie Edelweitz, Tony Rosenstein, Robin Stone, Ellen Vogeloff, George Wells, Celeste Jaron, Aaron Jacob, and Zachary Whittam, Ben Wilder, Phyllis Wofield, Gretchen Zimmerman. We ask for continued healing of body and of spirit for Todd Albelli, Tommy Anderson, Bonnie Amantro, Joan Bennett, Joe Callie, Michael Corvin, Terrence D'Amico, Steve Fine, Cheryl Fitzsimmons, Barbara Gallagher, Francine Glasser, Mark Greenberg, Marcia Hamburg, Valerie Henderson, George Jones, Danny Joseph, Anita Cantor, Heather Kite, Jill Levy Corley, Charles Lipman, Nomi Laurie, David Mallon, Joan Moore, Ann Murkoff, Catherine Nicholson, Nevaeh Newsy, Orly Batsvia Vachaya, Steve Perlmutter, Antoinette Phelan, Lillian Rich Schuster, Dave Rosenthal, Evie Rosenthal, Kyle Rothke, Barbara Salberg, Henry Sanderson. Continued healing and strength for Shirley Schneider, Deborah Sears, Phil Searle, Sloan Shortley, Michelle Simon, Charles Slutsky, Elaine Trott, Mark Trott, Sandy Weiner, Karen Wilder, Luca Williams, the Livingston House staff, and residents. Sheberach Avotenu, Avraham, Yitzhak, veYaakov. Mi sheberach Imotenu, Sarah, Rivka, Leah, v'Rachel. May the one who blessed our mothers, may the one who blessed our fathers, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, and bless us as well. Bless us with the power of your healing. Bless us with the power of your hope. May our hearts be filled with understanding and strengthened by the power of your love. Bless us with the vision of tomorrow. Help us to reach out to those in pain. May the warmth of friendship ease our sorrow. Give us courage, give us faith, show us the way. B'sheberach Avotenu, Sheberach Imotenu. Hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, and bless us as well. Prayer doesn't heal the one we love, but those who hear us pray for and with them may be strengthened, may be lifted, and more than that, as we reach out to those that we recognize are struggling, may they find healing in that connection. It was a frightening week for all of us. There has been a frightening and marked rise in anti-Semitism across the nation, here in New York, and specifically in New York City. It's perhaps to be expected, but certainly alarming that whenever there is violence between Israel and Gaza, between Jewish Israelis and Palestinian Israelis, there is a measurable and, quite frankly, disturbing uptick of anti-Semitic hate crimes in our communities. The ADL reported that in the week after the fighting erupted in Israel, it received 193 reports of possible anti-Semitic violence. That was an uptick from the previous week of just 131. Just 131. On Twitter, between May 7th and May 14th, there were more than 17,000 tweets that were found that had some variation of a reflection or a phrase that said Hitler was right. In Skokie, Illinois, it was a shattered window in the synagogue. In Bal Harbor, Florida, it was 4 men yelling, "Die, Jew," to a man walking with his family, and then threatening to rape his wife and daughter. In Los Angeles, Jewish diners were attacked while dining outside of a sushi restaurant. And in Midtown Manhattan, it was a group of people, 6 or 7, a gang, a mob, attacking a man that they did not know, but they had identified as Jewish. I was struck by these vicious acts, and especially by the attack in Manhattan. The man that was attacked, surrounded, and beaten viciously is a contemporary of my son Nir's. Like my son, he wears a kippah sruga, a knitted kippah, which is to the Jewish world a symbol that says, I consider myself a Jew, a practicing Jew, but still progressive, kippah sruga. This is the same kippah that I and members of this community, our community here in Kingston, wear each and every day. It's the same kippah that my son Nir wears, who lives in New York City. 1 week ago Thursday, this young man was beaten as he crossed the street in broad daylight in Midtown Manhattan for no other reason than he was identified as a Jew. How did we get here? I'm paraphrasing the words of the rabbi of the Tree of Life Synagogue in Pittsburgh, Rabbi Hazan Jeffrey Myers, who said, there has always been anti-Semitism, and there always will be anti-Semitism. But then where do we go from here? Hold on to your highest values. If shalom, peace, is your highest value as it is mine, then aspire to be a rodef shalom, a pursuer of peace, one who actively works to bring about peace, both in Israel and here in the United States. And this is not easy, because in Israel, there are those who expressly articulate their desire to see Israel destroyed. But I will tell you this from this pulpit. Most Palestinians who live in Israel, and most Palestinians who live in the occupied territories and in Gaza, do not have designs to hurt Israelis. They are not people filled with hate. They are ordinary people who don't wish harm to another, but only want to live safely and with dignity. Yes, there are haters, but most people are not haters. Pursue peace. Be a rodef shalom, not only in Israel, but in the United States. This isn't easy because there are more guns in America than there are people. Because people go to work and once again this week are gunned down for no other reason than a gun was in the hands of an angry hater. Be a Rodef Shalom, pursue peace. Get the guns out of the hands of civilians, of citizens, of angry people, of people who hold hatred in their hearts and want to do harm to others. I know you don't all agree with me about my position on guns. I'll say it here, I'll say it loud, I'll say it from the mountaintops and from the bima. I don't think that we need guns in our society. I think that if we didn't have guns, then our police would not have to have guns. But whatever your position is on this, let me state it boldly and clearly. There is no reason under heaven that this beautiful country needs more guns than we have people. Pursue peace here in the United States. It's not easy because there are angry, violent people who commit random and vicious acts of violence and anti-Semitic violence in the streets of New York City. But there are more individuals who are loving and kind and want to live with their neighbors in safety and in peace. Believe that. Know that. Trust that. But my friends, there is an uptick in anti-Semitism. And what can you do about it? Condemn it unconditionally. Tonight, I condemn anti-Semitism unconditionally. And what can you do? Call on all leaders. Call on every single politician, every single congressperson, every single senator to condemn racism unconditionally. And my friends, my congregation, what can you do? Lean into your Judaism. That's right. Do more Jewish. Be more Jewish. Practice your Judaism with meaning, with pride, and in a regular, meaningful way. What can you do? Reach out to your neighbors. Let them know you and get to know them. And every single member of this congregation, remember this sermon this evening and show up at Shabbat Shalom when we invite the Muslim community and the Christian community into our sukkah. Get to know our neighbors together with me. And what can you do? Stay connected to your congregation. Stay committed to your Jewish congregation. Identify the Jewish values that you treasure and that you aspire to live by and live by them. I am grateful to the leaders and the politicians, to my colleagues here in the Kingston community, and to my neighbors who stand with us, the Jewish community, condemning anti-Semitism at these truly terrifying moments when it seems that our world has gone crazy with hatred and violence. Uprooting racism is one of those Jewish values to stand behind. Uprooting the hatred of the other, which is a primary value of Judaism, a value by which I hope to live. Ve'ahavta l're'acha kamocha. Love the other as you love yourself. But to combat anti-Semitism requires that we combat tribalism, ignorance, and inherent racism, when in fact we each run the risk of becoming complacent concerning hatred and violence, when we each find ourselves being all too comfortable providing safe harbor for our own racism, the bigotry that we hold in our hearts. Let me tell you something. Racism is as old as the Bible and older. And it rears its ugly head in tomorrow morning's Torah portion, B'ha'alotcha. In Numbers 12:1, we learn Miriam and Aaron spoke against Moses regarding the Cushite woman he had married, for he had married a Cushite woman. Racism is as old as the Bible and older. Let me tell you, it did not go well for Miriam and Aaron. In Numbers 12:9, we learn the wrath of the divine flared up against them. And the cloud departed from above the tent, and behold, Miriam was afflicted with a flaky skin condition. Her skin became white as snow. She was afflicted with tzara'at. But while we know from the Torah that the divine abhors racism and will not put up with it, as is the lesson, the consequence that is delivered to Miriam for her racist remarks, even when it is plain as daylight. The rabbis try to equivocate concerning Miriam and Aaron's inherent racism. Rashi obfuscates her racism by suggesting that the term Cushite, which means black, refers to Tzipporah's beauty. The numerical equivalent of Cushite is equal to the numerical equivalent of the word beautiful. Rashi attributes Miriam's criticism about Moshe to her sense of female solidarity with Moses' wife. The Talmudic explanation that since Moses became the prophet Moses, he stopped being intimate with Tzipporah. I have to tell you, I find these commentaries fascinating, but they do not further the importance of looking inward when racism arises in us. My colleague and friend, Rabbi Uri Regev, an attorney, rabbinical member of Rabbis for Human Rights, and the CEO of Chidush for Religious Freedom and Equality, weighs into this portion, drawing our attention to what he calls the obvious and the unfortunate. The obvious is that Miriam committed a grievous sin of racism, one that is abhorred and punished by the divine. Miriam's apparent criticism of Zipporah comes because Zipporah is Cushite. She is of color. A Midianite woman from the land of Cush, a woman of color. What are the biases and the preconceived notions that we, each and every one of us, are harboring within our hearts? And the unfortunate, says Rabbi Regev, is that too often the rabbis, and sadly we Jews, refuse to hold ourselves responsible for our moral wrongs. And we allow them to remain part of our practice. Paraphrasing the rabbi of the Tree of Life Synagogue, Rabbi Chazan Jeffrey Myers, there has always been anti-Semitism, and there will always be anti-Semitism. But to combat anti-Semitism requires that we combat violence, tribalism, ignorance, hatred, and the inherent racism in ourselves and of our leaders and in our land. May you be safe. May those that you love be safe. And may we change the world. One loving, open-hearted, courageous, and Jewish act at a time. Tomorrow morning, Minyan begins at 10 a.m. I look forward to your joining together with me as we pray and study and celebrate the Sabbath. All of my classes resume this week on their regularly scheduled day and time and hour. Concluding in June, our guest teacher and board member, Professor Mary Warrener, presents the second half of her limited series by Zoom, Torah Now, Reading the World into Torah and Torah into the World, examining biblical narratives and contemporary sources to discuss issues that are as old as they are new. This Thursday, June 3rd and June 10th at 7 p.m. I am so excited to see you in person. We welcome everyone to join us for the first of this summer's outdoor services next Friday, June 4th. Join us for Tat Shabbat on our summer schedule, Friday afternoon at 5:30, a half an hour before services begin, and services will begin promptly at 6. This special kickoff of summer services will be at one of our congregants' homes in Clinton Corners. For directions and details of what to bring and where to go, please see our weekly emails. And if you are not on our weekly email list, please contact the office and we will give you directions. You are invited to join us. Services will also be live streamed while we are outdoors. So if you are out of town or out of the state, or if you are someone who can't get out, you can follow us and enjoy the service and the outdoors from your living room couch. We will post updates at cehv.org. If weather is inclement, we will call it by 12 noon on Friday. In that case, inclement weather, then everybody should head home or not come out, and we will deliver services virtually as we have been doing this past year. The following Saturday morning, on June 5th, B'Sheret Rab will be called to the Torah as a bar mitzvah. Throughout the rest of June, we will be delivering services virtually, with the exception of Friday, June 4th, because we have multiple bar mitzvah celebrations and services. But coming July and August, every Friday night will be scheduled outdoors. Please check all of our information, the flyer, our website, so that you know exactly the location for each and every Friday in July and August. CEHV is thrilled to announce that our Zimmet Religious School is reopening for the 2021-2022 school year. School registrations are now being accepted. All of our families are urged to register now and early. As we welcome a new director, we are very eager to make sure that everything is in place before the summer holiday hits. While our building remains closed, please know that we are working fastidiously to create safe protocols so that we can come back together following summer outdoor services for in-person in September, as well as the high holidays. 592 When I die, give what's left of me away to children and old people that wait to die. And if you need to cry, cry for the other walking the street beside you. And when you need me, put your arms around anyone and give them what you need to give me. I want to leave you something. Something better than words or sounds. Look for me in the people I've known or loved. And if you can't give me away, at least let me live in your eyes and not in your mind. You can love me best by letting hands touch hands, by letting bodies touch bodies, and by letting go of children that need to be free. Love doesn't die. People do. So when all that's left of me is love, give me away. We stand with these members of our congregation who have sustained a recent loss. Jane Davis, as she remembers Thomas Snell, Israel Gibor Mibeit Ben Vesara, Ellen Peruso, on the loss of her father, Joseph Horowitz. Jackie and Dave Lawson and family on the loss of Beth Kletsky Olson. Barry and Alice Cohn and family on the loss of Phoebe Faye Cohen. And for all of those others who are in their Shana, I am holding your loved one's name with me at this moment. 598, we gather the names of loved ones who died in this season in years past. Samuel I. Bloom, Charles Yitzchak Yehoshua Brackman, Bob Brackman's father, Mildred Heisman, Conrad Heisman's mother, Joseph Honig, Rose Levine, Lee Levy, remembered by Gail Levy, Lee Levy, remembered by Gail Levy, Robert Levy, remembered by Richard Levy, Edith Marcus, remembered by Leslie Marcus Dent, Leslie's mother, Phyllis Pellet, Debbie Beck's mother, Blanche Singer, Walter Steiner, Dora Ullman. 598. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, be'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mevorach le'olam ul'almei olmaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yit'aleh v'yit'alal. Shmei dekudesha barichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tush b'chata v'nechemata. De'amiran bi'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shmaya. V'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav. Hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol b'nei Adam v'imru. Amen. Page 651. Al kol ele, on the honey and the thistle. Al hadvash ve'al ha'oketz, al hamar ve'hamatok, al bitenu ha'tinoket shmor eli ha'tov, al ha'esh ha'mevueret, al ha'mayim hazakim, al ha'ish Hashav habaita min hamerchakim. Grant them blessings, grant them blessings, peace and blessings I entreat. Bless the honey the thistle, bless the bitter and the sweet. Oh, uproot not what we have planted, keep our ancient hope alive. Our prayer for peace and blessings, let our homeland ever thrive. Guard this cottage, God, I pray you, and the garden and the wall, from all anguish, sudden terror, and from cruel war. Keep the little that you gave us Guard the children, guard the town, guard the fruit that hasn't ripened, and the grain that's grown. Grant them blessings, grant them blessings, peace and blessings I entreat. Bless the honey and the thistle, bless the bitter and the sweet. Al nata kor natua, al tishkach et hatikva, ashiveni ve'ashuva el haaretz hatova. Shabbat Shalom.